Okay, we respectfully acknowledge that we are on the ancestral homelands of the indigenous nations that have inhabited these lands since time immemorial, including the Akimal, O'odham, and the Peeposh peoples. Their traditional care and honoring of these lands allows us to be here today. Becca's still here, Rebecca Hinton? No? Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda, well, Susie's catching up, so keep going. After land acknowledgement was the blood drive, and I thought Rebecca was gonna talk, so if she's not here, we're gonna go ahead and And next after that is the raffle ticket. The LD needs support. Actually, we had a great year. We'll be raffling off 2 wonderful baskets in the back. You can buy them, just scan the QR code, or online they will get a link dropped into the chat. You can go check out. You can also go and get your raffle tickets from Joe, who's over there, our wonderful treasurer. Cash. We love cash. Oh, yes. Couple of things. If there is water, tea over here, along with some cookies and brownies that Tracy made. Thank you very much, Tracy. We want to keep you all sugared up so you stay awake through the meeting. That was my goal. So thank you. And then the restrooms are in the back of the building. We are going to be doing these hybrid meetings here every single month. So I'm really excited for us to get this going. Okay. So after, do we have anybody who is your first time at an LD12 meeting? Raise your hand. Okay, can you just tell me your name and your thanks? Yes. Kathleen Burke. Well, thank you for coming. How did you hear about us? Well, great. Thank you. Welcome. And then who else? Oh, yes. And your name? Well, I'm glad that she brought you along. So thank you. Welcome, everybody. Is there anybody else that's new? Oh, yes. Oh, Yolanda Robinson. Whoa, thank you. Well, great. Fantastic. I'm glad you made it. Is there anybody else that's new? Yes. Oh, thank you. Welcome. Anybody else? No? Oh, I don't know if there's anybody on Zoom for the first time. I didn't look at the chat. All right. I forgot to look. Welcome, new attendees. We'll have a special gift for you, so please make sure to see me or one of the board members before you leave. Elected. Who are our electeds? Oh, we have, you want to stand up and who else? Go ahead. There's somebody in the back. Okay, so Armando and Patty and who else? Oh, and Stacy, you are elected now. Stacy. So is there anybody else? I don't see anybody else. There might be some people on Zoom. I'll see. Patty, I know Patty was going to join on Zoom since her knee and was in the ER today. Yes. Mitzi, is she on Zoom? In person. But we're going to hear from our 3 legislators later in tonight, so we'll go ahead and get started. So after elected, so the next slide would be your executive board. So I am Melissa, I am the chair. Sherry is the first vice chair. AJ is the second vice chair. Joe is the treasurer. Susie, who's online, is the secretary, and then we have at large, we have Jeff Tucker, we have Melanie, who's probably online, and that's it. Okay.
And Allison, who's chair emerita.
Yes, thank you. Steve, we can hear you. Thank you, Susie, for reminding me. And Allison, who is the chair emeritus, she helps out in the background to help us kind of get transition. So thank you. Okay. Dems give back. Shirley. Is Shirley here? Nope. Yeah, okay. So Shirley and Rebecca are going to be doing Dems Give Back. We're going to be ramping this up. This month is the Kyrene Resource Center. We sent out an email with a list of needed items. Thank you, Susie, for bringing it up. This is perfect timing. We're going to send out another reminder. You have 2 locations you could drop them off at: Dana's house in Awatuki and Rebecca's house in Tempe. And then Fran has made arrangements to do a pickup if needed. And then if you need a receipt for your donation, Fran, the receipts, correct? Okay. Okay, and I know somebody who's gonna drop off tomorrow, so I need one, and then, but we're gonna be doing this more often. We're trying to get, the Dems Give Back community back out there and, working. We have a lot of different things that we're gonna be doing, so please watch out for that. And if you wanna help, you contact Rebecca and Shirley. They're gonna kind of run out. Let's see, yes. Yeah. You'll need a microphone so they can hear you on Zoom. Sorry.
We can't hear that at all on Zoom.
Okay, now I hear the feedback. Hi, I'm Francine Bard, and I'm a volunteer at the Kyrene Resource Center. It's open from 2 to 4, from 9 to 4, Tuesday and Thursday. And it's run by Irma Horton. She's a district employee. They have a food bank for parents to come once a month and a clothing bank as well. The food, of course, is new food, and the underwear is new underwear, but the clothing can be gently used. So they need some hoodies right now. We're kind of low on those. But these are the specifics. The reason I put spaghetti and spaghetti sauce is because we're getting lasagna noodles, and I'm going to just say, I don't even know how to make lasagna noodles. So we're trying to keep it basic. Some of our families, they can pay the rent. They just, because of the increases, they're having to come to the food bank once a month. And then some of them have moved into motels because they cost less than apartments. And that's why we're asking for the full tabs if you can find them, or the individual snacks, instead of a box of cheese, it's a little individual. So it's easier for them to give the kids. I know Kathy had a million questions. If you're flustered about what cereal to buy, I know my sister's like, well, you can't buy corn flakes that are strawberry. Those aren't healthy. You can also get gift cards. They give out gift cards to family as well. So The other thing I forgot to put up there, strangely enough, is toilet paper. We do have a need for toilet paper. So, but I just kind of wanted to keep it simple for people. Are there any questions? Yes. You can Amazon to Dana's address. Yes. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you, Fran. If you haven't gotten a chance to go over and take a tour of the Kyron Resource Center, I recommend it. It's a very small facility, but they are very well organized and they give to anybody within the Kyrene family. So they don't turn anybody away. And it's just a really great place. Irma does a great job at keeping that well organized. So, okay, so thank you. Let's see. Oh, we are going to be doing next is request civic engagement beyond voting. Jude is here. She's going to be talking to you about request to speak. On Zoom. Susie, will you make Jude Simon, a co-host?
I am working on that very thing.
On that. Thank you very much, Susie. And while Susie does that, is there anybody here that does not know what request to speak is? Okay, that's good, because you know what? I just learned about it last year. Well, 2 years ago, I think it was. Request to speak is awesome. It's a way that we get to make our voices heard with legislation. So bills that are getting ready to be passed or that are in, you're probably going to say a lot of this, aren't you? Okay. I'm trying to fill a little. Oh, okay. I was trying to fill a little seconds here. Okay. So, let me see. You should be able to. See, this is the technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so she can put it in the chat for you and then we'll just. So Susie, we're gonna have, Judy's gonna email you the slides for request to speak so that you can show them. And while we do all that, we'll just go on to the next speaker.
Okay, but just so you know, when I'm sharing my screen and I have that up, it takes over everything and I can't see what's in chat at that point. So it's kind of an either or thing. which I did not know.
Yeah, okay, so. So is somebody else? Joe is watching the chat. Joe's watching the chat, so that's good.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, so we're good on that. And then Joe, will you put Susie's email in chat for Jude? And then he can get that for you. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead, while they get all that, we'll come back to request to speak. But tonight we have two guests that are running for state committee ADP. So if you're a state committee member, this is really important. And if you ever want to become one, ADP is people that oversee everybody in the Arizona Democratic Party. We are electing a new executive board for ADP. And tonight we have two guests. We have Yolanda and Steve, who I'd like to introduce. We're going to hear from both of them, and then we're going to open it up to, we'll open the floor up to questions and to the chat. So Yolanda, would you like first? Great, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Everybody hear me okay? Yes? Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank LD12 for all the work that you all did in this election, this midterm election, and also for leading the PC recruitment in the entire state. That's really, really impressive and amazing. So round of applause. Very awesome. So a little bit about me. Well, why am I running for chair, first of all? I am currently vice chair of the Arizona Democratic Party. I've been in that role for almost 2 years, and I am an organizer. My role right now, I'm the field director for the Communications Workers of America. Yes, right, CWA. Yes, where I have organized across the state of Arizona, fundraise, and registered people to vote, and on behalf of my union, and also in support of Democratic candidates. But my organizing goes beyond Arizona. You know, just a few weeks ago, it feels like a lifetime ago, but a few weeks ago, I was in Georgia leading a team of door knockers in support of Senator Warnock's runoff election. Yes, that was too close for comfort, too close for comfort. But here we are, and I, you know, being a vice chair, I have firsthand experience in seeing how the party works, how the party is organized, and I know that I have the skills and abilities to really lead this party forward and lead the party infrastructure. You know, we have to flip the legislature. That is priority number one. And we have to organize, bottom-up organizing. And what does that mean? That means reaching into every single community that we can across the state. It means fielding candidates in every single race across the state. And it also means, you know, working really hard in this, starting this year. I don't like to call it off year. It's this, you know, what can I call it? Not the off year. It's not an off year. It's an on year. We have to, you know, the election is here. So I think, you know, we flip the legislature. We can do that. We have to be intentional in doing that and make it a priority. And then we have to take back those congressional seats, those 2 congressional seats that we lost by a very small margin. I was looking at the data today. Oh my gosh, we have to take that back. And you know, those races turned out to be very competitive. And now we know there, you know, the maps are out, and now we know what we need to do. And then Donald Trump recently announced that he's running for president again, and his path to victory runs straight through Arizona. So we have to stop him. We have to stop Trump and what he believes in, and that MAGA mentality. So that's a little bit about me. I'm happy to take any questions. Yes. Yes. Yes, so the question was that this should not be a bottom up, it should be top down. We need to have a strategy, and that's, we have a problem with the strategy piece. Is that right? Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yes. Okay, so there were some issues with the propositions and with the strategy from you believe it should come from the top down. I do, but when I say bottom up strategy, what I mean is that we need input from all the county chairs, from the counties, from the LDs. We need input. We need to know what works, what doesn't work, and what we never want to do again. Like, we need to really have that conversation and do a real analysis of the data. Let's look at the data when the numbers come back into our band, or when we get all of the voter file information. We need to really make an assess everything that happened. Where did we have mishaps, or where did we go wrong in certain areas? Because there was a lot went right, but some things went wrong. Yeah, so I think that part about the candidate recruitment, that needs to also start really early and in coordination, and with input from the counties, from the LDs, from the unions, from all different organizations that may have people that they can put up. But they also need help with the messaging. They need help with they need the resources to be able to run a good, effective campaign. Yes. Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Absolutely.
Too. We have to make sure that we talk into the microphone whenever we ask the questions, because the people on Zoom, that's okay, can't hear unless we're talking into a microphone. But we have plenty of time. We have time for questions, but I just want to give you guys both a chance. So thank you. Well, Steve, thanks.
Thank you. Real quickly, to introduce myself. My name is Steve Barlow. I am Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. I represent District 5, which is the southwest portion of Maricopa County. I am the one Democrat on a board of 5. There's 4 Republicans, 1 Democrat, folks. We got to change that. But nonetheless, even as a lone Democrat, I think I've won more battles than I've lost. And that is called strategizing, really. But nonetheless, I am running for Arizona State Board Chair. One of the things that, and I'll go right into some of the concerns and questions. One of the things I am doing right now is I am going to every county in the state of Arizona. I can tell you, I was there on Thursday at the inauguration, which is a wonderful thing. For many of you that were there, it was a great day. Let me tell you, it was a great day for Arizona. We haven't done that since Napolitano. When Napolitano got elected as governor, I had just gotten elected in the Arizona State Legislature, so we kind of got elected together. But I know the importance of having a legislature that is going to work with the 9th floor. I've been down there. I know how this place works. We have some great warriors down there that are fighting the good fight. They need help. When they're in the minority, I tell you, I've been down there. It is very tough. And when you have now a legislature that is all the way to the extreme, these folks will do everything they can to try to block anything that Governor Hobbs is wanting to do. They will drive Arizona's economy off the cliff just so they can prove a point. We got to change that. Yes, flipping the legislature is goal number 1. That is number 1. We need to have a legislature that is going to work with our governor and address the critical issues facing the state, anything from education to healthcare, environment, the economy. These are key issues. There's a whole slew of issues. Housing, number 1 issue facing facing the state of Arizona right now. Many of our families are facing tough economic and social challenges right now. And you see the number one issue right now at the county, city, state level is housing. Families are priced out of purchasing a home, or they're priced out of even renting a home. You see families right now moving in together, 2 or 3 families living in 1-bedroom apartment. Unfortunately, you have families, I see it out in my neck of the woods, families that are living in their vehicle. It is unconscionable that in today's society, we would let families, kids, be in that type of situation. This is why we need to have a legislature that is going to work with our governor. So yes, flipping the legislature, goal number 1. And we're there. We're like 1 vote apart in both the House and the Senate. We need to work real quickly to make sure we have candidates in every district. And yes, we need to make sure that every one of our counties, all 15 counties, has the tools and the resources they need in order to be productive, to be able to grow our party. That's the purpose of our LDs and our counties, is to grow the party. How do we bring in new voters in our party? Young voters. How do we bring in retirees? How do we bring in people of color? How do we bring in those that are on the sideline? They just want to kind of watch on the sideline. I have folks in my family that are just like that. I'll tell you right now. I have one side of my family, they will vote. It's like going to church. They just do it. I don't have to worry about it. They go out, they vote. They're Democrats, they follow the issues, they follow the candidates. And then I have another side of my family. And those individuals, I gotta pull. I gotta continue to remind them, turn in your ballots to vote. I write down a list of the candidates and the proposition. Say, here, if you need help, here's what I believe is the right thing. We need to bring more people to the party. That's how we are going to win in 2024. The 2024 election starts today. It does. It starts today. If we're serious about taking over the Arizona State Legislature, if we're serious about delivering 11 electoral votes to our Democratic nominee for president, which may or may not be President Joe Biden, we don't know, he hasn't formally announced, but whoever our nominee is, for us to deliver Arizona, we need to start today. And let's be honest, folks, we all know the electoral map. We know how this works. Florida, I'm sorry, I hate to say this, Florida's gone. It is gone. We can't rely on Florida. So now folks across the country, even presidential candidates, are looking, where can we pick up electoral votes? Right here in the state of Arizona. It is ground zero. Everyone's going to come in here. They're going to work real hard to try to of the 11 electoral votes. We need to make sure we do everything we can to deliver that to our Democratic nominee in 2024. I had the honors of being a presidential elector in this last 2020 election. I was one of the 11. One of the proudest moments in my life to be able to cast my ballot for President Joe Biden. One of the proudest moments. It really was. And Vice President Kamala Harris. It was an honor. But we have to start now. The other part is, yes, we need to elect a Democrat to the United States Senate that's going to work with our Democratic president. Arizona needs a Democrat. Folks, I'm not here to bash, I'm not going to here to bash Kristen Sinema. I know Kristen Sinema, her and I served in the legislature. Kristen Sinema right now that's in Washington is not the Kristen Sinema I served with at the legislature. She stood with the caucus, she stood up for progressive value. She ain't doing it right now. Regardless, she has decided to move on, and it's our responsibility to replace or fill that seat. 24. But we start today. Those are our goals. Flip the legislature, deliver 11 electoral votes, and we are going to send a Democrat to the United States Senate in 2024. But we got to grow our party. And the way to do it is all 15 counties. Our party, our state party, is only as strong as the 15 counties. It's only as strong as the caucuses and clubs. Let it be not just be a rural county. All 15 counties are important. Look at what happened to 180 votes. Now think about how critical it is for us to make sure that we get out every single ballot for every single voter. I can tell you this, folks, when you start talking about our issues, when you start talking about education, healthcare, the environment, the economy, when you talk about housing, when you talk about our democracy and the importance of the right to vote, the most fundamental right we have, and it's under attack. Folks, I have been sued a bazillion times over the last 2 years because of the election. Harry Lake is out suing us personally because of this election. They continue to want to undermine our election, continue to want to cast conspiracies. They want to take away your right to vote. They have a legislative standing committee that's going to do exactly that. Introduce bills that are going to make it harder for people of color, retirees, normal, everyday citizen from exercising their right to vote, the most fundamental right. If you don't believe in what they believe in, I'm talking to Republicans, if you don't believe in what they believe in or look like what they want you to look like, they don't want you to vote. That is the truth. We have an obligation as your state party chair, folks. And I'm sorry, I'll wrap it up real quick.
Okay.
I know, I can talk a lot. There's a lot to say. Folks, I've been there at the legislature. These lawmakers on the Republican side, they work on the assumption that no one's going to know what they're doing. They work on the assumption that no one in their district is going to know what they're doing. We need to go in their district, in their rural counties, in those rural districts, and let their constituency know, does this legislator, this Republican represent you? Because the vast majority of them will stand up and say no. We've seen the great infrastructure that has been made in various counties. We need to strengthen them. We need to work together. It's a partnership. It's the state and county and clubs working together to ensure that we have a victory in 2024. That is my mission as state party chair. This is what I want to do for the next 2 years. The 2024 election starts today. Thank you.
All right, now we will open it up for questions, but don't forget you have to have a microphone. You guys will both come up.
You know, actually, I think you're speaking to the choir. We all know what has to be done, but we would like to know the methods that you're going to use. I understand that, and I agree with the idea of the bottom up. We have a great template here in LD12. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You know, you don't need to spend the next year trying to figure out how we're going to do this. So I would take what we were doing here and offer it to the other, you know, the smaller districts and you know, get them all riled up like we've been. But seriously, with messaging and with you know, coordination, as I said, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. So what are your plans exactly? You know, we know what needs to be done. So if you can tell us how you're going to do it.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. So after the election on January 28th, my plan is to have an immediate meeting with the new board that will be made up of folks from across the state with diversity from rural areas, from urban areas. So my plan is to have an immediate meeting to talk about strategy, to talk about how do we get to where it needs to be and figure out a work plan. That I'm all about work plans. What I've learned in the union as a professional organizer is you have to have goals, metrics, and things that you have to, you have to reach in order to be effective. But what you said about not reinventing the wheel, I agree 100%. That's also something else I've learned in the union. You don't have to do that. We're not going to start from scratch. We can talk to like this, you know, LD, other LDs that I've talked to across the state as well. They have brilliant ideas, things that work. They're proven methods, proven tactics that work. And I'm all about a skill sharing, collaborative approach to my plans.
That's an excellent question. And let me try to put it this way. Every community is different. I'm gonna just say it right now. Every community, to go to Yavapai County, I was up in Yavapai County for a couple of days. Help me understand your infrastructure. How does it work? Now, I can tell you, Yavapai County's program, you might be right, might work good in Mojave County, La Paz County, but the same program may not work, I can tell you, in LD24 in West Phoenix. I cannot take what we do in LD24, the South Phoenix and West Phoenix, and take it to Santa Cruz County. It's apples and oranges. The only way you're going to do it is by traveling the state and meeting with every one of these leaders. I have already started. Right after the inaugural, the gubernatorial inaugural on Thursday, jumped in my truck, drove directly to Nogales. After Nogales, met with folks, went to Cochise County. After Cochise County, drove back up to Tucson, spent the night in Tucson, went to a breakfast in Tucson. After that breakfast, went straight down to Santa Cruz County, met with folks there. We got to understand exactly what is it that they need. You have to understand what are the challenges, what are the obstacles, what are the tools and the resources they need in order to be successful. That's what I believe the state party is about. It's a partnership. How do we make Apache County grow their party? How do we make Santa Cruz County grow their party? Yes, you all have a great infrastructure, and it might work in other counties, but it might not. It's up to sitting down with those leaders that have been doing it for so long and saying, how does this work? What's the best recipe in making sure we're growing our party? We're bringing in new voters. And how do we make sure you have the tools and the resources to do your job? My job, state party chair, is to raise $1 gazillion. Let's be honest, that's my job as state party chair. Raise as much money as possible so we can turn around and go to these smaller counties, go to some of our clubs and say, clubs, how do we strengthen what you're doing? The stronger the local governments are, local counties are, the clubs, the stronger they are, the stronger the state party. We're all in this together. It takes everyone to work together, grow our party, but whatever tools and resources they need, we need to give it to them.
Okay, thank you. Kathy had a question first, and then I know Mark had his hand up, and then Marion. And we have one.
Oh, good evening. My question to both of you is just piggybacking on what Ann was saying. What is your plan for communication? Whenever we get together, we say messaging. They're defining us. We're not defining ourselves. What is your plan for communication and messaging? Because everything's fine, but how do you get it out to the people?
Number one issue I have heard in like half the counties right now is the lack of communication. I'm gonna be straight up honest, okay? This is what they're telling me in Tucson, what they're telling me across the state of Arizona is exactly that. They felt that there was not the communication. I think is key. One of the things that is left out, and this is a promise I'm going to give to you all, as well as I gave to La Paz, Cochise, Coconino. I've given this promise to every county I have visited, and that is I will be engaged. I will be at your county meeting. The only way I can support them as county chair or state chair is to be there with them. When they have monthly meetings, I need to go down there. When you all have events or meetings, I need to be engaged. We have to. Now, I'm not going to crash parties, so if they have a special event and you guys invite, I'm going to come, but I got to be invited. But even more so, just being engaged. What are you doing? What is this infrastructure that's being created? Can we use that in another county? So it's a constant engagement. It's being there. It's listening, working together. It's making sure that you all have the information as needed.
So I'm with the Communications Workers of America. And, we have to have a plan. And that is, like Supervisor Gallardo said, one of the biggest critiques of the party. We did not communicate effectively. But I also believe that we need to be proactive in our messaging and, show voters and communicate with voters that why would it be better, why would they be better off voting or electing Democrats as opposed to Republicans? Democrats want to lower costs. Republicans want tax breaks for the rich. So we need to be very, very effective in that messaging. And it just takes again, collaboration with folks to talk about what works in certain areas. I'm from a rural town called Rural, Arizona. It's a very red little town. When I was there, there were 400 people there. I know I'm supposed to keep the questions really short, but my dad was a farm worker. My mom was a homemaker, but this town has been left behind. It gets no love. And my goal is to get a strategic plan in place to be able to get that information out to as many people as possible.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark. Welcome to LD12. This district is the template by which every district should be followed. Oh. So this district, every seat went blue. We know what we're doing. Ask. This is what we should be doing, is getting every three-seat district out there. We've already figured it out. You mentioned that you were writing down lists of who the candidates were. To your family members, okay, do you know that we mailed 28,000 slates? 28,000 of them. Your rural district, I bet you can get it. When I looked at the Maricopa County Dems, there was 6 slates posted, and CD1 had no posts of who to vote for. I worked at the election. People walked in with those slates and used them to fill their ballot out. I'm on Facebook, just like everybody else. People saw what we were saying and said, how do I get a slate like that for my district? Because people are lazy, if you haven't noticed. They're not going to research the judges. They're not going to research the props, the community boards, any of these other positions, the mining district or the water district. They don't want to do that. They want to be handed a piece of paper and say, tell me how to vote. So there right there is what works. We turned and we have the proof. And the fact that the Maricopa County had 6 slates posted and Jevin Hodge did not have one up there. And that's why Chris Mays only won by 288 votes, because there was no slate. All those people in that huge district that said, I don't have time for this. If somebody handed them that piece of paper. So as party chair, I would recommend that a slate is absolutely mandatory for every district. Okay. Number 2, in the Warnock thing, when I went to try to reach out to them to find names of voters for us to write postcards to, we couldn't find one. They actually have a position called voter or candidate recruitment on the state board. I have a friend in Sun City. There was nobody running against Debbie Lesko when the primary happened. So a guy said he got his thing and was surprised and said, what does that mean? So he became a write-in candidate. Why is there no one that would run against Debbie Lesko? Really? Really? Come on. That's a failure. That's a communication failure. So today, we need to go and find that LD up there and find out who's active and start promoting that candidate, because those Dems didn't vote. That's why Chris Mays only won by 288 votes, because the Dems out there are apathetic. That's right. They know they're stuck with her because they don't even have a chance. So that's just my 2 cents. It doesn't require a response.
No, that's great. I mean, what you said, yes, Mark, you're being recruited. So the blueprint of LD12 and what works in LD12 is pretty amazing. It's really amazing, actually. And tour guides, that is something that we need to continue to work on and make sure that we get it to everyone. Because I would argue also that some people, like you said, they were apathetic, but they probably did not go vote because they weren't confident in all, the ballot is gigantic. They didn't know who to vote for, so they were like, I'm just going to skip it. I don't know who these people are. So yes, I'm 100% on board with a voter guide, a comprehensive voter guide that we can get to as many people as possible.
No, couldn't agree more. I mean, helping and encouraging folks on how to vote their ballot is critical, especially first-time voters. I got nieces and nephews. They're voting for the first time. They've never voted. Having to sit down with them and we take it for granted. Even just circling you got to work with them, kind of talk to them. So yes, I couldn't agree. The more information we can get in terms of how to vote, must do. It's something that has to be sent to every Democratic voter. But we also have to grow a party. There's two sides of this. Growing our party, getting more people engaged, more registered, that is a must. And then how do we get them to vote? We talk about our issues. Republicans and independents will support us. They will. If you talk about healthcare, the economy, the environment, education, Democrats definitely on board. We use our message to encourage others. That's how we win rural. That's how we get these Republicans that are elected in these crazy red districts. Vote Democrat, talk about the issue. These legislators work on the assumption no district knows what's going on. We let them know the difference between Republicans and Democrats.
Well, you guys both got a chance to answer, right? You good? Okay, we have one question online from Brooke St. George. She said she'd like to ask Steve the following question. How do you plan to take the Democratic Party control of the Arizona legislature in 2024? What is your strategy?
First and foremost, as I said before, the 2024 election starts today. It starts by the party. Democratic number. Why the independents are going for the reason. It isn't that they hate Democrats. It's not. Because we got to engage them. Not only independents, we need to engage new voters. We need to start getting them engaged, involved. We need to be able to grow a party. That's our first step, is growing that party. And then targeting these Republican districts with Democrats that will destroy them, that have the tools and the resources, the training they need to be successful. How do you make sure they have the resources? Folks, there's going to be a ton of money coming to Arizona. There is. How is it spent? We're a battleground state in the national presidential politics. So how do we spend that? We need to make sure we are going in those districts and making sure. Lesko is a perfect example. I served with Lesko. I know how that crazy she is. We need to run a Democrat and let the voters know who Debbie Lesko is. Really, Andy Biggs, he's even worse. He's even worse. Folks, we have a job to do. It starts today, growing our party, identifying candidates, going in and showing the difference between Republicans and Democrats.
Okay, well, yep, you go ahead and answer, and then we have got to
Yeah,
wrap it up because we still have two more things we
Yes.
got to get to tonight.
I mean, quickly, it's recruiting candidates, finding the right candidates, making sure they have the resources to build a strong team, build a strong messaging strategy and plan, and getting to just door knocking, using all the tactics, phone banks, text banks. We've got to use different tactics now because a lot of people don't answer their phones. So we've got to think outside the box, get more young folks involved in the planning stages, and yeah, I think that's how we can really win by we just have to work really hard to do that. I love that. Rafael Dorna.
Well, thank you very much. We wish you guys both best of luck. And I hope to see you at a future meeting. So we're still having some technical difficulties with the request to speak, so we're just gonna tell you guys that she's gonna put a link in chat for those online. We need to get people to sign up for a request to speak. Do you want to just describe it and talk about it a little bit, and then we'll tell you about the Zooms that are coming up for civic engagement beyond voting. Join one of them. They'll get you all signed up and set up.
So when Melissa asked how many of you knew about RTS, a whole bunch said yes. My question is, how many of you are actually using it? Oh, okay, good enough. So if you're not signed up, I'm going to put a link in the chat. I don't know how else. I don't know if Susie can print it, put it somewhere. So, okay, to get signed up, and then Civic Engagement Beyond Voting does weekly happy hours where they go over the issues coming up in the coming week that need to get RTS response. They also conduct weekly trainings. If you're on Facebook, just put in the search Civic Engagement Beyond Voting, and their events page will give the dates and times for that. We have proof positive right here that it's worthwhile because Senator Epstein is one of our featured, and one of the slides saying, yes, she does pay attention to it. So it's worthwhile to use it. Some legislators will blow it off. You know, last year there was a big controversy. These are all robots. These are all bots or people from California signing in. No. But it's useful. The legislators do pay attention to it. The media pays attention to it. And so if it shows up that, 12 people signed in no and 175 signed in yes, why are they voting no? So it's worthwhile to express your opinions that way. So sorry, the presentation isn't working out, but that's basically it in a nutshell. And it says request to speak, but a lot of people get kind of freaked out thinking they actually have to go speak. You don't have to speak. It's just a way to express your opinion. If you want to speak, you do have to sign on. But just because you sign on doesn't mean you have to speak.
And could I just interrupt you for a moment? I had put links to all the request to speak stuff that you need in the latest newsletter. So if you haven't opened up your newsletter yet, you might want to go ahead and do that, and you can find everything you need. I can put the links in chat here, but that obviously doesn't do anybody any good in the meeting. So it's all in your newsletter though.
Thank you, Susie.
So Jude, can you clarify? I believe last I heard that the request to speak, if you write comments, it becomes part of the public record. And I think that's important for everybody to understand, because that kind of puts the legislatures in a accountable situation. And Mitzi can probably talk more about that. She's really good about that. The other thing I would highly recommend is they have a great newsletter that Susie was just talking about. It has lots of information. Highly recommend subscribing to that. Can you help me plug that?
So about the comments, the teacher in me always has to say, proofread what you've written, because it is public record. People can see it, and it's not a place to rant. You give your reason for your vote and be civil about it. It's like I say, it's not a place to rant.
And thank you. And also in 2020, what we did is get a request to speak buddy. We texted each other every week to make sure that we logged on. It takes time. It does take about 10 minutes of your time every week to log in and mark your vote. So thank you very much. I look forward to it. Next up is. Okay, for those of us that live in Ahwatukee portion of LD12, we have a runoff election for District 6 Phoenix City Council. One of the candidates that is running is Kevin Robinson. He is an independent candidate for the Phoenix City Council District 6, which includes all of Ahwatukee. His runoff opponent is Republican Sam Stone, and there is no Democrat in the runoff election. A little bit about Kevin, and then we'll give you the floor to talk for a couple minutes about why you're running, Kevin. For 4 decades, he's been a public servant working as a decorated police officer, a nonprofit leader, a community board member, and a professor at Stephen Watts College of Public Programs and Community Solutions. We're giving him an opportunity to speak to our community about why we should vote for him in the District 6 runoff election. Please welcome Kevin Robinson.
Thank you very much, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. Just sitting here and listening to your level of enthusiasm really gives hope to, to our entire democracy. And I don't say that lightly, because I say that because I decided to run for Phoenix City Council because I knew without a doubt that I could make a difference. That I knew without a doubt that I could work in a positive manner, in a professional manner, with other members of the city council to accomplish the things that we want to see accomplished. It was meant, and I am an independent, and it was a party that I chose so that I could pick, I always thought was the best person for whatever they were running. That's just how I have always. It was mentioned that I spent over 36 and a half years in the police department, rose to the ranks to an assistant police chief. I retired about almost 6 years ago, teaching full-time now at ASU, and I had always taught for ASU on a part-time basis. I am just one of those folks who's lived in Phoenix since 1974. I've lived in Council District 6 in Clinton for almost 30 years, for about 27, 28 years, so almost 30 years. I know the district. I appreciate the district. I've worked in the district in all my years at the police department, spent a lot of time specifically here in Ahwatukee. I remember the ashes here opened up. I remember when, you remember Ray Road was the junk. I was a big part of younger back then, but I was a big part of the first police storefront that we saw here in Ahwatukee on Ray Road and 48th Street. For those of you who were here, you remember that. Then we moved into the trailers behind the fire station off of Chandler Boulevard, and ultimately had a lot design and the building of our facility at Pecos Park. So I'm not new to the community, been around for a long time. I work to serve, I work to achieve things in the community. And that is one of the reasons I mean, the Phoenix City Council in 6, I want to make a difference. We were up last week knocking on doors, and of course, this entire campaign doors. But just last week, I was knocking on the door, and a gentleman had a very simple question for him. He said, "What are you going to do for me?" Taken aback by it, but I get where he was coming from. And I said, well, what you will get from me as your representative on the Phoenix City Council is I will answer the phone. I will find out what your issue is, and I will try to solve it for you. I believe that city council members and other elected officials, our job, we've decided to take on these positions, our job to listen to what your concerns are, to try and solve those problems for you. So I told the gentleman just that I will answer the phone, find out what your issue is, and try to deal with it as effectively as I can. And so I'll end with it and answer any questions that anybody may happen to have. But I assure you this, if I am fortunate enough to be elected and serve as a city council person, you will call. If I don't answer the phone, I will return the phone call. I know there's a couple of folks here. So right there, she sent a very nice email and just said, want to know a little bit more about you. So I called her and talked to her. I don't think you really expected me to call, but I wanted to, because I understand that every little bit helps and every little bit matters. So I will continue to do that. Be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has, but I'm really hoping to really garner the support from LD12, because I will tell you, and Mark, if I'm saying that right, I'm just sitting over there going, I got to talk to that guy, simply because you guys have it. You got it going on. You're on fire. I really appreciate that. And what was mentioned is my opponent in this runoff race. It's a guy by the name of Sam Stone. And Sam had been chief of staff for Councilman Sal DeCiccio for a while. He left that. And most recently, he has been the policy director for Cary Lake. And I tell you that because the difference between the two of us is 180 degrees. Listen, I will always talk to you. I will always try to find a way to solve the problem that we're all dealing with. So with that, if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy.
Kevin, I have a question from one of the people on Zoom.
Okay.
Their question is, why are you renting a home in Ahwatukee when you and your wife own a home in Scottsdale?
The question was, why am I renting a home in Ahwatukee when we have a house in Scottsdale? That came up earlier in the campaign, and I get it. I understand where people are coming from with that whole thing. The first house I purchased here in Ahwatukee was at 32nd Street, Chandler Boulevard, lived there for about 6 years. Then I purchased another house out at 27th Avenue and Chandler Boulevard up on the side of the mountain. Had that for about 11 or 12 years. And I met my wife. I didn't get married till later in life. I love my wife. My wife is a physician at Mayo Hospital, and she had a home in Ahwatukee. So I moved to Ahwatukee, kept the house here, and moved to Arcadia. Kept the house here in Arcadia. Let me get it straight. Kept the house in Ahwatukee, moved to Arcadia, where we were for the next 12 years or so. Kids are all out of the house. My wife is still working, has a drive to as she is this week. She has a 30-minute response time to the hospital. That's her. So we decided to move closer. Sold our house in Arcadia because it was 4,800 square feet. It was just the two of us. So this before I ever had an inkling about running for office. Bought a house closer to Mayo so that my wife's response time could be adequate, so that it could be, cut down on her travel time and such. And then when it was decided that I would run for office, immediately rented a home before I had to, rented the home immediately. Did not actually have to have residency in the district until I filed all the paperwork 6 months later. So I was renting in Ahwatukee, and quite honestly, my opponents hired a private investigator to follow me around. And what they found is I lived in Ahwatukee. I mean, it truly was that simple, but people are going to play on those things. It's politics. If they're going to go low, I'm going to stay high. I'm just not going to go there. And I didn't. They took me to court. Judge ruled. They appealed it. The judge ruled again in my favor. And that's where we got. So after all that, my wife and I just said, you know what? Okay, we get it. People are going to be like that. We purchased a home in District 6, back in District 6, a little bit closer. We couldn't stay out in Ahwatukee, which was the desire, but my wife is still traveling to the hospital at a 30-minute response time. Doesn't make it from here. So we went ahead and purchased a home in District 6, and we're there. We're there for the long haul. It's on mission. Those who want to make an initiative keep bringing it up. 36 years as a police officer, you always deal with the facts. The one thing I will never do something I'm not supposed to do. We knew what I needed to do, rented a house in Ahwatukee to establish the residency, to reestablish the residency in District 6. after having lived here for well over 2 decades. And that's where we're at.
My name is Jacob Brayford. I just want to preface with saying I'm one of the individuals who was peacefully protesting in 2020. And I want to ask, what do you think about the CAP program in Phoenix and the community assistance program? What do you think about that? And what do you think about the calls in the community to turn that into a department in its own right for victimless nonviolent dispatches like behavioral health, substance abuse, the unhoused community? How do you look at that in terms of how it fit into the current first responder system, how it can benefit the community, and how it impacts funding on, say, pre-existing departments such as fire, police, et cetera?
Thank you for the question. If I understood it correctly, in all the years I was a police officer, the first thing I will tell you, I was never fully equipped to deal with a lot of issues we had to deal with. I just was a police officer. I show up and say, this is what I want you to do. Sometimes we're dealing with a part of our community that maybe the last police officer. Strongly that one of the things we have to do is find better ways to respond to those types of issues in our community. If I'm answering the question correctly, I've heard it that way. No, how it should be. To respond to folks in crises. It doesn't necessarily have to be, nor should it always have to be the police, because a lot of times that turns into something it doesn't need to turn into, usually tragedy. We just have to figure it out. And I can sit back and I still on ASU and the criminal justice program stay in touch with a lot of criminal justice. Everyone will tell you their solution that are in crises. It shouldn't or doesn't necessarily always have to be the police. And I hope I'm answering the question. Funding needs to be found, and I will tell you as an advocate that for public safety. I truly am. But, and this is a crucial but, we have to understand, can't expect the police and fire services to always do the things we've come to expect. We have to look out there. We just have to hear great ideas, but we have to figure out ways to deal with those issues other than how we have been dealing. I hope that answers the question. I'll mention one other thing because I think it's important for folks to know, because I've had some folks say, well, you're going to be awfully close to the police. You're always going to side with the police. I will always side with good policing. I always have, I always will. Things you don't know about me. As a chairperson of our discipline, which meant if you violated the policy, you did something you couldn't do, you had to come before me. I recommend it, and I'm not proud of it, but it's a fact. I recommended more people be terminated from the Phoenix Police Department than anyone I know. And I did that because they didn't deserve to be a police officer. They weren't representing you the way we expect police officers to behave. So I did that for 13 years. Blissfully teaching at ASU, minding my own business, got a call from the governor's office, and they asked me to sit on the Arizona Police Officer Standards and Training Board, which is the overseer for every sworn officer in the state of Arizona. Police officers, sheriff's deputies, correctional officers, you name it. And on that board, our mandate is ensure integrity. the law enforcement profession. You can go back into the minutes and listen to the video, and listen to the audios. Sometimes they have videos, and you will see we meet monthly. You will see that I and other members of that board routinely hold police officers accountable, and if they don't do what they're supposed to do. And I am supporting the state in my for this council position, but you will see that I'm one of those folks who will vote to strip someone of their law enforcement certification like that if they're out there doing something they shouldn't be doing. It was a profession. I loved it for 36 years. I was professional. Never. And I tell people it's not hard to do the right thing. It just isn't. The last thing I will mention, I spent a couple years now, but I sit on the Arizona Judicial Council, which has the oversight of every single judge, every single court in the state of Arizona. And in that role, I was asked on that board by Arizona Court Justice Robert Brutenall, right of throughout the entire state. We were at a meeting about a year and a half or so ago. We were at lunch. We were justice, a hard look at no-knock search warrants in the state of Arizona. And I opened my mouth. He put me on a committee, and I believe it comes out, or it is active, or becomes policy for judges throughout the entire state. I think March of this year, where before they offer a search warrant, the is aware that you were seeking this no-knock search. That's not good enough, because the Phoenix Police Department, I oversaw our tactical division. I wanted to know about those search warrants. Always wanted to know, and I would question, are there other options available? And we have found that when you push that responsibility up, people take more account. They're asking more questions. I think we're going to see the number of no-knock search warrants go down. Now, I'm not saying you let bad guys out there and do whatever they want. You find other ways to do it. And there are other ways to do it. I just think we need to be smart about it. So I mention those things because I want people to understand that, you know, I always wanted to do one of two things growing up. One, to play second base for the New York Yankees, and they never called me, or I wanted to be a police officer. And I was able to live that dream, being a police officer. Love every minute of it. I just have a problem with anybody who tarnishes the badge, tarnishes the profession. There. I get off.
Thank you so much for your time. Six, do not have a Democratic candidate running. We are going to be putting out a vote. Jeff is going to talk about it. I'll try not to get too off topic. So thank you very much for coming out and talking.
Okay, all right, hopefully everyone can hear me. There's one of the benefits of being a PC is that you can determine the direction of the district. If you're not a registered PC, we are opening up the applications for it now. And the applications, of course, were open earlier last year. And all of you who are PCs, precinct committee people, are basically eligible to vote in the ballot or survey that we've got coming up here. And that's one of the benefits of being a precinct committee person. So anyway, the question that we're going to be posing to the body are just these two questions, and I apologize that I'm fidgeting with my iPad and trying to read to you. The first question is, should the LD12 Democrats publicly endorse Kevin Robinson as the candidate in the upcoming Phoenix City Council election? And an endorsement of a non-Democratic candidate requires a 2/3 vote to pass. Endorsement of a candidate signifies that we will permit a candidate 12 Democrats in his promotion materials. And similarly, the LD Democrats are willing but not required to promote a candidate in its own materials. So that's the question that will be asked, yeah, survey. And then the second question is, what level of support shall the LD12 Democrats provide to Kevin Robinson in his bid for Phoenix City Council? So whereas the last question was really a yes, no, or abstain question, the second question is a little bit more detailed. And basically the answers for that are none. We should only support Democrats. The second response is we should provide volunteer support, but not spend any money on his campaign. The third option is we should support Kevin with modest funding and volunteer support. And then the final question, or the final response possibility, is we should support Kevin with the same level of effort we support our Democratic candidates. And then finally, there's an abstention or no opinion response. The first vote is a binding vote, the yes, no vote. So basically we'll be using that vote, whatever your selections are, whatever your feelings are about this race and about the candidacy of Kevin Robinson, we will take that to heart. And basically that is a binding vote for the district. So we will basically, if you vote yes, we will publicly endorse Kevin. If you vote no, we will do no endorsement at all. We won't be mentioned anywhere in any of our materials. For the second vote, that's a little bit more complicated. With that, and pardon me, I should probably be talking without my mask on. That might make it a little easier. For the second question, what's going on with that one is a non-binding vote. And what we mean by non-binding is that we can't necessarily, really make a specific policy out of that, since they're kind of general answers that aren't really specific, other than, hey, there's no funding at all. However, the other ones are a little bit, a little bit less concrete in terms of, should we put toward a candidate. So basically, we're going to take the responses from that one, aggregate them from everybody's responses, and basically figure out what the best policy is that seem to be coming from the overall body. So those are the two questions that we're hoping tonight. Are there any questions either here in the room or online about the ballot?
One more thing. I just wanted to let you know, as an elected PC, or if you get appointed, this is something that the district is going to be doing moving forward. We're going to be asking our PCs how you would like, or what would you like us to do? How would you like us to proceed when we have? So it is not just your elected executive board making all the decisions. It's us as a district. It's something that we want to try this year. We really want to make everybody included in how we run the district, what we do as a district, and how we get represented. Okay. So I'm sorry, was there any other questions? Yes. You're going to vote just like we did when we had the reorg meeting. You're going to get a link with an email, or but you can do it when you get home. You don't have to do it right now. We're going to give you how long? 24 hours. Midnight tomorrow night to vote. It is. Okay, and you'll get a unique link with an ID. You click on that, and then it will populate the 2 questions for you. Any other questions? Hearing none?
Really
Moving on.
quick, Melissa.
We're running a little late.
I know, while I'm making this statement, we're gonna also hear from our brand new legislators. So if Stacy, if you want to come up and give us a quick update, as you make your way up, I'll make one quick statement. Mitzi can go first.
Oh,
The
go back
senator
to
goes last.
Senator goes back.
And Kevin wanted me to mention that he does already have the LD4 and LD5 Democrat support behind his campaign. He just wanted to make sure that we were aware of that when making our decision.
Also, and what, well, we passed through the slides, but we have to pay for this building every month. We do have a contract with them. We will have the hybrid meeting. It does cost us $200 to rent this every single month, along with Zoom and everything else. So your donations are are greatly appreciated. If you'd like to get an LD12 shirt, Sherry's wearing one. I have them up here. We also have cookbooks that we are selling. And then, of course, our Bada Bing raffle tickets. So don't forget, if you want your raffle ticket, you got to come up and get them because we're going to be doing a last call soon. Stacy, where did she go? I saw her. Oh, there you are. All right, you're up first. So thank you so much, Representative Travers.
Is this on? Is this thing on?
Hi, everybody. It was quite a busy day today. I went to Tempe. There was the MLK Diversity Awards. There were 4 LD12 people and organizations that were honored. So it was absolutely brilliant to be there and to be able to represent. I'm so proud of our community. Then it was off to the races of the legislature. And we had some fantastic people here from LD12 who came to see the proceedings. In terms of stuff that I've already started working on, a small business protection bill, if it's passed, it will be the first of its kind in this. The New York Times is doing a piece on it in the business section. When it comes out, we'll make sure we let you know. I'm working on some bipartisan legislation, a child protection bill that came from, even though it was run last year by Senator Victoria Steele, I actually had 2 constituents in the district come to me and say, hey, how do we get something on the ballot so that we can vote on it? And I said, well, you can either go and your legislator about trying to get it into law, and it that was already done, and now there's a Republican representative who's also working on it. Looking forward to working together. Lots of veterans, mental health, education. So we're doing our best to move LD12 forward. Okay.
Thank you. And Patty, is Patty online or she did not make it? Nope, I guess not. Okay. Senator Epstein, thank you again for what you did. I'm sorry. It was such a great day today. I'm just telling you. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, LD12, for helping me to get to the Senate. It was a blast today to be there for opening day. And we had our fabulous chair from our neighbor district, LD9, Angela Brewer was there. Our LD12 chair was there, Melissa, with tons of other LD12ers. Thank you all for being there. It was a super fun day. But let me tell you, between listening to a governor's speech, who is a Republican, and a fabulously amazing governor's state and state speech, who is a Democrat, the Democrat is better. At one point, Representative Judy Screamer turned to me and she said, I feel like I'm in heaven. It was, it's just so much better. So we printed our Arizona blueprint. This is the Democratic Caucus, House and Senate. Every year puts out our plan. This is what's important to us. These are our priorities. And it basically, this year revolves around housing, schools, and water. So how fantastic to, instead of hearing a governor who talks about how he's going to give welfare to the wealthy and he's going to do tax cuts for the rich, instead we heard a governor who said she's going to work on housing, schools, and water, the same as we are. So Governor Katie Hobbs. What a nice difference. So as you know, I am your Democratic Assistant Senate Leader. And yes, that makes me the dazzle. And as your dazzle, we have already been hard at work. One of the first things we did was hire 4 new staff members because lots of turnover right now. They're getting onboarded. That's a big job. Then we started planning, what do we do with all these brand new members, legislators? We had 3 different retreats to help bring them on board. By the time our 3rd retreat was done, we were worried, oh, have we done too much? No, especially our sophomore senators said, this is fantastic. I feel like we have really talked about the things we need to know. And I feel like we have a strategy as a group, as a Senate Democratic Caucus. We know where we're going. And thank you for all of these retreats. So that felt good that we were planning. This is going to be a very united
Senate Democratic Caucus. I'm feeling very good about it. And then we had to do one of our first negotiations with the Republicans. We said, you know what? We need another staff member. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to hire that fifth staff member. We won the negotiation, if you will. So your Senate Democratic leadership team is hard at work preparing, laying the foundation for all of the wonderful senators to have success for the people of Arizona and to work hand in hand with our brothers and sisters across the corridor in the House. We're going to do great things. I'm working on, I've talked to you about this simple bill that this year we're really going to be pushing it. If we plant trees in schoolyards, that's a major step for climate change. It seems so simple, but it's one of the most important things we can do, because no matter how much we cut emissions in Maricopa County, we're still going to have plenty of air pollution come floating in from everywhere else. But if we absorb those greenhouse gases, that is a major solution for climate change. So why not take $400,000 out of our $16 billion budget and plant some trees in schools? You know what else that does? That helps our kids to see that, oh, you know what? There are solutions for me. And I care about my government and I want to participate in it. So we want to build the grassroots, like Steve and Yoli are saying. We've got to build the party so that we'll be ready for 2024. And we're going to not only have a Democratic governor, but we're going to have a blue legislature in 2024. And we're going to make it happen. Thank you.
Okay, well, that concludes everything that's on our slides. Do you have anything else? Well, oh yeah, that's right. You have to do the bada bing raffle. So I'll give you one last chance if anybody wants to buy a ticket. Again, I want to thank Steve, Yolanda, Kevin, and Stacy and Mitzi. Thank you all for coming and speaking tonight. And Jude, yes, thank you. State committee meeting, don't forget, we're going to send out a lot of information. If you want to buy cookbooks, t-shirts, name tags, we're always raising money for something. This is our building here. We're going to be building on PCs. We're going to be building on voter registration. So a lot of good things coming this year. So we'll go ahead and no questions, just kidding. Oh, yes, AJ. Thank you for reminding.
As you know, it's Monday is the MLK Day, and as Israeli Democrats, we are participating the Mesa MLK Day parade that will be in Mesa next Monday, 10 o'clock. Please let me know if you'd like to join me and other Democrats out there, so that we can at least have 50 people, not just us, LD9, LD13, and LD14. We are all going to be there. It's a fun event. I'm hoping that you will join us.
LD12. All right, is there any other questions before we do our raffle? We ended a little late, but thank you all for your patience. Hybrid is going to take us a little bit, but we are going to get there. And then if you want to say to, just one second, if you want to say hi to anybody on Zoom, the camera's back there, so go ahead and wave to them when you walk by. So make sure you say hi to everybody on the Zoom. And you had a question? Thank you everyone for coming. We're going to do the bada bing raffle. Don't forget to grab your cookies. We have drinks. Everybody drive safe. And do we have a number? Not yet.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for your generous donations, as always. We're going to do the quick drawing. We'll do the Here's to Beers. We sold 149 tickets on the Here's to Beers. So let's do the drawing for the ticket number. That is number 6. Ticket number 6 on the Here's to Beers. And Gavin Lee, congratulations, Gavin. You won it, Gavin. And then on the fabulous wine basket, by the way, thank you, Julie. We sold 287 tickets. So the winning number is 276. 276 falls right here, and that was Diane. Congratulations, Diane. And back to Melissa.
All right, thank you, everyone. We're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to a close. I don't know what time it is. Are you good, Susie, online? Thank you for everybody joining online.